But first, breaking news. The CALL7 investigators uncovering warnings made to police weeks before a parolee took a teenage boy hostage in a 17-hour standoff. Now the parolee's family talking only to CALL7 investigator Theresa Marchetta. They're saying the standoff never should have happened, Theresa.
They say it wouldn't have happened if the parole division was doing its job. I've obtained documents supporting the family's timeline of events and confirming even though Don Pooley was placed on the caseload of the new $1 million fugitive apprehension unit, even though relatives told them where to look and that he had access to guns, no one was actively searching for him.
The system failed. As far as I'm concerned, the parole office is the first one that failed. They didn't do their job.
Relatives of parolee Don Pooley are still reeling after a tragic chain of events that ended with police shooting and killing the 34-year-old Tuesday morning. We're protecting their identities at their request. Should that situation ever have happened?
No. Should have been stopped right up before it ever got started. My feeling is it should have been stopped sooner.
Pooley took a 13-year-old boy hostage Monday evening, determined he wasn't going back to prison.
And I left a message for the day that there was the standoff. And she didn't answer her phone, and I told her who I was. I said, I'm very angry. I said, I called and I called and I called and I tried to tell you what was happening. I just hope that little boy doesn't get killed.
Parole documents obtained by the CALL7 investigators verify the exact timeline of events Pooley's relatives lay out. They called Pooley's parole officer January 6th and told her he was selling drugs, driving without a license, had access to weapons, and had even been in a high-speed chase in Federal Heights. 2 days later, on the 8th, a relative calls parole again to tell the officer Pooley is, quote, causing harm. The response from parole was?
Nothing. Nothing, not even I'll call you back or nothing. I'll check it. I'll check it. There's nothing I can do right now.
The next day, Pooley doesn't show up for a scheduled meeting with his parole officer. On the 10th, 4 days after relatives first reached out to parole, his officer finally meets up with Pooley's mom and learns what other family members had already told the officer, that he hasn't been at his approved residence for 2 weeks. A warrant is issued that same day. Pooley, now officially an absconder. I've learned January 13th, Pooley's case was transferred to the newly formed Fugitive Apprehension Unit, or FAU. Yet in the weeks that followed, there's no record of anyone actively looking for the 34-year-old career criminal, even though relatives had given his parole officer addresses he was frequenting.
He was right amongst the Arvada area, right amongst his mothers and his grandfathers all the time. He didn't go very far.
Frustrated with parole, relatives place calls to Crime Stoppers and Arvada police the weekend before the final incident takes place. Neither agency can find the warrant.
So then I knew that it was only a question of time that he might get in trouble.
On February 3rd, 3 hours before Pooley takes a 13-year-old hostage, a relative calls yet again, telling parole where he is and that he, quote, has a gun and is not going back to prison. Well, a teenager should never have been traumatized in all of this from that timeline. And we contacted the Department of Corrections late this evening and hope to get their reaction to what we uncovered tomorrow. I'm CALL7 investigator Theresa Marchetta.